Origins of Babylon, Episode 6-5, The Religious Pillar. This is not about religion. Let's establish that clearly from the very beginning. This is not about denominations. This is not about which building someone attends. This is not about traditions or rituals or what someone calls their belief system. This is about authority. It is about who has the right to define what is righteous. Because if someone can define righteousness for you, they don't need to control you physically. They don't need chains. They don't need laws. They don't need violence. They don't need force or enforcement. All they need is your agreement. And once you accept what they say is right, you will begin to align your life with it. You will defend it. You will promote it. You will teach it. You will enforce it on others. And you will do it, believing you are doing the right thing. You will send your sons and daughters off to die for it. That is the highest form of control. Not when someone forces you, but when you agree. Not when someone oppresses you, but when you participate. Not when someone commands you, but when you believe. That, brothers and sisters, is the religious pillar of the Babylon system. Religion, in its simplest form, is not about gathering. It is not about buildings, and it is not about ceremony. Religion, in the context of power, is about authority. Let me say that to you again. Religion, in the context of power, is about authority. It is the authority to interpret truth. It is the authority to define righteousness. It is the authority to establish moral boundaries. It is the authority to shape conscience, and conscience is where everything happens. Before action, there is thought. Before behavior, there is belief. Before decision, there is justification. And all of that happens inside the conscience, or better described as the soul. So if you can influence a person's conscience, you don't need to control their actions directly, because their actions will follow what they believe is right. And what they believe is right will come from what they have accepted as truth. So now we begin to understand something deeper. The religious pillar is not about control from the outside. It is about control from the inside. It is about shaping how people think so that they regulate themselves, so that they align themselves, so that they correct themselves, so that they defend the system without realizing it or thinking about it. Defense becomes a reflex, not a rational thought. That is why this pillar is more powerful than force, because force can be resisted, but belief, that is embraced. When we study Babylon, we must understand it was not just a kingdom. It was not just a city. It was not just a moment in history. Babylon was a system, and that system had structure. It had leadership. It had hierarchy, and it had order. But more importantly, it had belief, because Babylon understood something that most people overlook. Controlling behavior gives you temporary power, but controlling belief gives you lasting power, because behavior can be forced, but belief must be accepted. And when belief is accepted, it becomes internal. It becomes part of identity. It becomes something people defend, something they protect, something they pass on. Historical traditions describe a structure where Nimrod functioned as a central authority, a ruler, a unifier, a builder of centralized power, and a high priest. Save this for later. But alongside that, there was religious authority, often associated with Semiramis as high priestess. Now again, the exact details are not the focus. The pattern is, because what we see is the merging of two forms of power, political power and religious power. Political power governs behavior. Religious power governs belief. And when those two are combined, you do not just have rulership, you have control. Because now, people are not just obeying, they are believing. They are not just complying, they are agreeing. They are not just following, they are committed. And belief is stronger than force, because force creates resistance, but belief creates loyalty. That is why religion is the most powerful pillar, because it does not operate outside of you, it operates inside of you. Now, let's talk about why Babylon's case is so dangerous and an abomination. From the very beginning, the Most High did not design a system where man needed an institution to reach him. Look it up. He did not create layers between himself and his people. He did not establish barriers that required human permission for access. He gave his law, he gave his word, he gave instruction, and he gave covenant. Man, his people were meant to live under his authority directly. That means something. It means access to the Most High was never supposed to be controlled by man. Never. Even when there was structure, even when there was order, even when there was priesthood, it was never meant to replace access. It was meant to assist, to serve, and to support, not to dominate. The priesthood was not the source of truth. The Most High was the source. The priesthood was not the source of righteousness. The Most High was the source. The priesthood was not the gate. The Most High was always the source, and his word was always the standard. So now we must ask a question. What happens when something else steps into that place? What happens when something else begins to define righteousness in place of the Most High? That is where the abomination begins. Babylon didn't just control governments, and it didn't just control economies. It controlled how people worshipped, and that's what made it so powerful. Not just powerful in its time, but powerful across generations, powerful across empires, powerful across systems that would rise long after Babylon itself had fallen. Because once you control how people approach the Most High, you don't just influence behavior. You don't just guide decisions. You don't just shape culture. You control the entire framework of how people understand truth itself. And when truth is controlled, everything else becomes easier to control. So, in the beginning, people were meant to have direct access to the Most High, not mediated, not filtered, not structured through systems. There was no institutional layer between man and the Most High, no hierarchy standing in the way, no controlled pathway that determined how you approached him. The relationship was direct, clear, unfiltered. You didn't need a system. You didn't need an institution. You didn't need a structure to define how you connected, because the connection itself was the design. But something changed, and that change didn't just affect behavior. It affected access. Babylon didn't just rise as a civilization. It introduced something new into the earth. It introduced structure. It introduced system. It introduced control. Not just over people, but over access. Because Babylon didn't just organize society. It organized how people approached the Most High. And once that happened, access was no longer direct. It became defined. It became structured. It became controlled. And ultimately, it became manipulated, tampered with. This is where the system changes. Because when political authority and religious authority remain separate, there is still tension. There is still space. There is still the possibility for truth to stand outside of power. But when those two are fused together, something different happens. Power becomes belief. Authority becomes truth. And the system becomes self-sustaining. Historical traditions and extra-biblical sources describe early Babylon as the origin point of a structured religious system, where worship was no longer simply practiced. It was organized, maintained, administered. There were roles, there were systems, there were structures designed to ensure continuity. And within that structure, authority was centralized, outside of the Most High. This is what is often referred to in polite society as a God-King system. We call it what it is: Antichrist. This will be covered in detail in later teachings. This is not just a king ruling over people, but a system where leadership becomes the focal point of authority itself and garners worship, not just in governance, but in belief. And this is Nimrod's great sin: self-worship, idolatry. Because once leadership becomes the focal point, a deity of belief, people no longer seek truth directly. They receive it. They accept it. They inherit it through the system. And that changes everything, because now, truth is no longer something discovered. It becomes something defined by man instead of the Most High. And this is what makes Nimrod's system so significant and his sin so egregious. Because this wasn't just rulership, it was worship. This was system architecture. This was the establishment of a model that would be repeated again and again throughout history. Because when you combine political power with control over worship, you don't just lead people. You shape their understanding of reality itself. And this is why this system carries such weight. Because it doesn't operate only on the outside. It operates within. Because if you control access, you control direction. If you control direction, you shape understanding. If you shape understanding, you influence belief. And if you influence belief, people will follow what they believe is true, even when it isn't. This system was not random. It was structured, organized, maintained. There were systems in place to preserve it, to sustain it, to ensure that it could continue beyond a single generation. Because systems that rely on truth must constantly be reinforced. But systems that rely on structure only need to be maintained. And Babylon was a system built on structure. And this is where Babylon stops being just a place. It stops being just a city. It stops being just a civilization. And it becomes something else entirely. It becomes a model, a blueprint, a system that can be reproduced. Because once you establish control over worship, you don't just influence individuals, you shape entire societies. And over time, something begins to happen. People stop seeking truth directly. They begin to rely on systems. They begin to trust structures. They begin to accept what is given to them, instead of seeking what is true. And eventually, they stop questioning the system at all. They defend it. They depend on it. They identify with it, even when it leads them away from truth. And when that happens, the system no longer needs to enforce control externally, because it has already been accepted internally, and that is when control becomes complete. Now we bring that forward to today's flavor of religion, because Babylon did not disappear. It replicated. It evolved. It spread across empires, and one of the most consistent patterns is state religion. State religion, like Nimrod's implementation, is when religious authority and governing authority become aligned, where religion receives recognition, protection, structure, resources, and in return, it operates within boundaries. Now understand this carefully, because this is subtle. When something provides you benefit, it also gains influence over you. If a system protects you, you are less likely to challenge it. If a system supports you, you are less likely to oppose it. If a system sustains you, you are more likely to align with it. This includes legal recognition, institutional protection, tax advantages, 501c3, financial structures like equity loans. For most of your pastors and large camp mores, those loans are predatory, but available to them nonetheless, and access to influence. And over time, this creates dependence. And once dependence is established, adjustment begins. Truth becomes flexible. Messages become measured. Certain things are emphasized. Other things are avoided. And gradually, dependence influences behavior. And behavior influences teaching. And that teaching influences truth. Now we return to Scripture, because this pattern is not just external. It appears within Israel in Exodus 20 at Mount Sinai. The Most High does something extraordinary. He invites the people to come near, to hear Him, to experience His presence directly. This is not symbolic. This is real. This is access. Direct access. Relationship. But the people respond with fear. They say to Moses, "You speak to us, but let not the Most High speak to us, lest we die." That moment is one of the most important moments in Scripture, because it reveals something about the nature of fleshly man. They were given access, and they rejected it. They were invited into relationship, and they chose distance. They chose mediation. They chose to have someone stand between them and the Most High. Now understand this. That choice was a pattern that ultimately had to be purged from the nation before they could go into the land. Because once people become comfortable with distance, they become dependent on intermediaries. And once they become dependent on intermediaries, they become vulnerable to control, because now access is no longer direct. It is managed, and anything that is managed can be shaped and ultimately manipulated. Then comes Exodus 32, the golden calf. And what do the people say? Make us something we can see, make us something we can understand, make us something we can follow. This is critical, because what they are asking for is not just an object. They are asking for a system, something visible, something structured, something predictable, something controllable. This is the shift from relationship to system, from faith to visibility, from obedience to structure. Because instead of trusting the unseen, they wanted something tangible. And that is exactly what Babylon provides. A system to replace relationship, a structure to replace obedience, a visible authority to replace invisible truth. Now we come to the Messiah, and this is where everything must be understood correctly, because many misunderstand his mission. They think he came to start something new, to create a new system, or to establish a new structure. But that is not what he did. Yes, he called people back to obedience. Yes, he corrected false teaching Yes, he restored covenant understanding, but there is something deeper. He restored access, direct access. The veil was torn that was not symbolic, that was functional. It meant something changed. It meant something was removed. It meant something was opened. The barrier was gone. The separation was broken. Access was restored. Now understand the implication of that. The Messiah did not come to place himself between you and the Most High. He came to remove everything that stood in the way. That means the goal was not dependence on a system. It was relationship, direct relationship. And any system that replaces that is operating in the pattern of Babylon. So now we return to the question, who defines righteousness? Because whoever defines righteousness controls conscience, and whoever controls conscience controls behavior, and whoever controls behavior controls the people. And they do not need force, they do not need control from the outside, because the control is happening on the inside. So as was stated in the beginning, this is not about religion. This is about authority, and whether that authority comes from the Most High or from a system that attempts to speak in his name. This is a serious matter, because what began in Babylon didn't just start in the earth. Because what you see as empire, what you see as systems, what you see as kingdoms rising and falling, has a deeper reality. In the earth, it looks like power, it looks like structure, it looks like civilization, but in the spirit, it operates as something else, a system that stands in opposition or antithetical to the order of the Most High. Let's let that sit there for a minute. A system that replaces direct access with controlled access. A system that defines truth instead of allowing it to be revealed. And what begins as empire becomes something deeper. Now, finally, this pattern didn't end in Babylon. It continued through empires, through kingdoms, through systems that followed the same structure. Because once this model was introduced, it became repeatable, it became scalable, it became the foundation for systems that would rise again and again throughout history. That system has many names, but we will cover those names in later teachings. The most important thing to understand at this point is when the system sustains itself, people don't even realize they're inside it. May our Father's peace be with you. And remember, our Father blesses motion and obedience to his word. Shalom.
The book of Exodus, 20th chapter, starting at the first verse. And the Most High spoke all these words, saying, I am the Most High, thy sovereign, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Most High, thy sovereign, am a jealous sovereign, visiting the iniquity of the father upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Father thy sovereign in vain, for the Father will not hold him guiltless that take his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but on the seventh day is a Sabbath of the Most High thy sovereign. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor the cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Most High created the heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Most High blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Father thy sovereign giveth unto thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And all the people saw the thunderings and lightnings, and the noise of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moshe, Speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not the Father speak with us, lest we die. And Moshe said unto the people, Fear not, for the Most High is come to prove you, that his fear may be before your face, and that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moshe drew near unto the thick darkness where the Father was. And the Father said unto Moshe, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. But if thou shalt lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shalt thou go up by the steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. Peace be unto you, brothers and sisters. Peace be unto you. This is Elder Youngman, your brother DL. The name of tonight's message is Everything. Everything.